Good morning. Good morning, fellow workers and students in responsible tourism. You will notice that the next two speakers are lawyers, like Ms. Twinkle mentioned. We are friends. We used to work for the TIEZA together. So you see, there are better and more sustainable uses for lawyers. My topic today is about the private sector initiatives towards sustainable tourism. I will not talk about any destination or of the Philippines as a tourism destination, but about one particular destination, one that is close to my heart, my homeland, Bohol. So, by way of outline, first I will be sharing with you the experiences of Bohol in tourism development. We do not claim to be a best practice destination, but we're trying to do our best. And along the way, you may learn something from what we will be sharing. And as they say, it is good to learn from your mistakes, but better still to learn from the mistakes of others. Bohol has a declared tourism direction, and we will talk about that later, and how this direction is being carried out is by way of collaboration of many stakeholders. And more particularly, we will be talking about the specific initiatives of the private sector in sustainable tourism. And there are many game-changing developments that are happening right now in Bohol. And there are also very formidable challenges that we are facing. So let's proceed. It's good that we pick Bohol because it is very much similar to many other rising tourism destinations. We are nature-based in terms of attraction, and of course a big plus is heritage and culture. There's also a rapid increase in tourist arrivals, especially after Boracay closed. Last year we did close to 1.5 million tourists, including local tourists. And of course, we have sustainability issues which came into closer focus after Boracay was closed. We have a tourism vision which was crafted about 8 years back. And also there's even a law which declares Bohol as an eco-cultural tourist zone. And we have our logo which also expresses our tourism policy. Tourism vision, you will see that sustainability is embedded in this vision. So we talk about environmental, cultural, and economic sustainability, as well as meeting global tourism standards to remain competitive. And then there's a Republic Act that was crafted in 2007, which also expresses the direction that Bohol wants to take, which is sustainability in terms of natural and cultural heritage, as well as in the economic aspect. Sustainability is, as I said, embedded in the tourism direction of Bohol. We even have this logo. Dr. Rodolfo helped us craft this logo together with CNN after the earthquake of 2013. So it also expresses the natural assets of Bohol, particularly the Chocolate Hills and the Tarsier and the easy, relaxed lines of our type of tourism. But how good are these images and these words? if we don't put this in action. So how are we doing this? To be sustainable, well, first let's define what is sustainability. It is the type of development that meets the goals of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. To move forward in this sustainability direction, Bohol works through the various sectors involved in tourism, particularly the government and the private sector. It's a good, healthy partnership because the government lets the private sector undertake the business, and it provides the enabling environment like the infrastructure, peace and order, the ease in doing business. And we have been fortunate that our provincial administration or the provincial government has always been pro-tourism, and they listen to the private sector, regardless of their party affiliations. And we have a very vocal and participative private sector. And of course, we have been enjoying the assistance of development partners like the USAID, JICA, OstAid, SIDA of Canada, COICA of Korea, and then the ZZR of Germany and other development partners working with private sector and government in sustainability efforts. The private sector and the government collaborate mainly through the Provincial Tourism Council, which consists of the key stakeholders from government and private sector. For private sector, we have the accommodation, tour operators, the tour guides, even the Chamber of Commerce, and the various departments in the provincial government that are involved in tourism. It basically is a recommendatory and a policy advisor to the provincial government. Of course, it's also the mouthpiece of the tourism industry in the province. There are efforts of individual resorts as well as the Association of Hotels and Resorts towards responsible tourism. And let me just illustrate by way of one resort. Dr. Rodolfo already mentioned a resort which we operate. It's a 13-year-old resort which highlights Bohol heritage, arts, and culture, and was twice in a row an ASEAN Green Resort awardee, and very recently was the recipient of ANAHAO Sustainable Tourism Certification Level 4, which is the highest awarded to any resort in the Philippines. There were three of us who were given the Level 4 certification, one in Bohol and two in Palawan. Let's just go through very quickly with our green practices, mainly energy efficiency. We have solar panels for our water heating, energy efficient public areas, use of LED lights, among other initiatives. Water conservation, we recycle our wastewater, we have rain collection systems, and then we also we minimize the use of concrete surfaces so that the rainwater will go back to the water table. Waste management, solid, we segregate our waste from at source. We have composting and fertilizer from the composting we use in our herb and vegetable garden. We even have a vermiculture project. And For liquid waste, we have a reed bed system which has served us well, especially after the EMB of the Department of Environment and Natural Resources became very strict with the enforcement of their effluent standards. So with the use of a biological wastewater treatment facility, we have been consistently able to pass the very stringent EMB standards. We have had this reed bed system from the start. This was introduced by way of the USAID assistance. And we have to be good to our community, so we are in close coordination with our barangay in terms of greening and cleaning. And we're very proud to have full-scale art gallery at our resort premises featuring Bohol art and artifacts, the best of Bohol art. And we always share our green initiatives with our fellow stakeholders in the community, with other resorts, with local governments, as well as with academia. We have an association of hotels and Bohol. We have the Bohol Association of Hotels, Resorts, and Restaurants in Bohol. And we have undertaken, as a group, green initiatives. For example, we have had a memorandum of agreement with the provincial government where we gathered the seeds from our operations, like mango seeds and papaya seeds, and give it to the provincial agriculturist. And then he plants this, and with the planting materials, he spreads this out to the farmers or gives them back to the resort owners. In exchange, he provides technical assistance for the resorts who would like to have their own gardens. And we have an Adapt a Barangay project by way of beautification. Flower arrangement looks very, very trivial, but actually this is a good representation of sustainability because we avoid using plastic flowers. They're ugly in the first place. Secondly, they're non-biodegradable. And you can use, we trained our resort owners to look for decoration from their yard, from twigs and leaves and flowers that they found, that they will find in their own yards. And we have, in terms of sustainability in quality service, we have helped train the K-12 senior high students, and also in training pollution control officers. And we have been sharing whatever material we have on the ASEAN Green standards, as well as the ANAHO standards with the other resort members. Recent developments, we have a new airport, better seaport. This is an international airport. We have improved connectivity with neighboring islands like Camiguin, Siquijor, and on Monday we have an inaugural flight from Bohol to El Nido. So there's much more interaction and interconnection among the islands. Of course, recent development, Boracay closed. I would like to mention to the gentleman from the AmCham that insofar as from our perspective, the closure of Boracay was very much positive. Well, not only in terms of arrivals, we used to have 40, we were happy with 40 to 50% occupancy. When Boracay closed, it became 80 to 90%. But that's the fleeting side of the benefit. I think the more far-reaching benefit is that we became much more aware of sustainability. We started to beg the DNR for a carrying capacity study. And also, the DNR woke up in terms of its function to monitor and train and really compel the stakeholders to follow environmental standards. And there are new facilities being constructed in the accommodation sector. Challenges. We expect a dramatic increase in tourist arrivals. Like I said, we had 1.5 million visitors in 2018. 2019 will be a much higher figure. And like I said, environmental carrying capacity, including waste management and easement issues, especially after Boracay, has become much more prominent. Carrying capacity, I think, is a national issue, and the DOT, the DNR, and perhaps the DILG should form some kind of convergence so that before we promote and develop resorts or resort destinations, we should have first carrying capacity studies so we know how far we can go and what markets to target. And how to make another challenge is how to make the industry more inclusive. How do we let the farmers, the fishermen enjoy the benefits of tourism? So we are already discussing planting now fruit trees and other crops which will feed the tourists 5 years from now. We have a neighbor, our resort is only 30 rooms. We have a next door neighbor that is going to develop for its first phase 1,200 rooms. Their eventual target is 4,000 rooms. So let's think how to feed. What will be the buffet lineup for that resort 5 years from now when it opens? Strain on our resources, including energy, food supply. Like I said, we have to think about how to source our food supply, our supply chains to be efficient. We still import most of our high-value vegetables and herbs and fruits from Mindanao, and you could grow them in Bohol, and the carbon footprint will be much less. Energy, there was an issue about brownouts, blackouts, to be more precise. There was talk about, in fact, there was already serious discussion about bringing in a coal-powered plant in Bohol. The private sector raised a big howl, organized themselves together with civic organizations, including the church, and we came up with a manifesto, and we were able to convince the authorities that Bohol is not for coal. So it's no to coal. There's already a provincial board resolution saying no to coal, thanks to the private sector. We are also facing great social, cultural, and including health costs, actually. There's also the threat of casinos coming in. We have already passed a manifesto initiated by the private sector saying no to casinos because Bohol has more than enough attractions to bring in the tourists. We don't need casinos to change the culture of the Boholanos, their cherished traditions that they have nurtured through the centuries. So we're hoping that PAGCOR will listen and the higher authorities will also listen. On the other cultural cost, we are afraid that with so many outside influences coming in, there might be a degradation to our uh, to our cultural and heritage treasures. So the cultural workers in Bohol, together with the academe, with the aid of the USAID and some other development partners and the NCCA particularly, have been undertaking cultural mappings in various areas. We have also been the beneficiary of training sessions from the NCCA and other national agencies in terms of training in performances as well as the visual arts. And we have already been initiating discussions with the Tourism Knowledge Center about coming up with a better Visita Iglesia or church pilgrimage tour in Bohol, considering that most of the churches which were damaged during the earthquake have been restored or are in the process of restoration. So there is a richer story to tell that many tourists, I'm sure, would like to listen to. So, maraming salamat po.